Aging isn't about slowing down, it's about stepping into your power. Welcome to Don't Let the Old Lady In, the podcast where we challenge outdated beliefs about getting older and embrace wellness, self-love, and confidence. Your host is Lori Gardner, a registered nurse and nationally board-certified health and wellness coach, and she is your guide on this journey to vibrant, mindful living. Each episode will explore topics that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, and how to navigate health issues in the healthcare system as you age, so you can live with energy, purpose, and joy. Let's get started. Here's your host, Lori Gardner. Ladies, have you ever noticed that when you're learning something new, working towards a goal, or healing, stretching beyond your comfort zone, that you feel more alive? Yeah. There's more energy there, ladies. There's more momentum, a sense that your life is moving somewhere. But when you feel stuck, doing the same routines, going through the motions, life can start to feel flat, heavy, and meaningless. That's not accidental. Meaning isn't something we chase down like a lost set of keys. No, it's something that grows as we grow. So today we're talking about why expansion naturally creates purpose and why stagnation often creates emptiness. Welcome back, ladies, to Don't Let the Old Lady In. I'm Lori Gardner. I'm your host. I'm so excited to be giving you. This is the fourth episode of the series, Growth Creates Meaning, because I think what better time as the springtime, or at least in the Northeast here, we have incredible growth. Blooms popping out everywhere, trees blooming. It's just incredible. And so it's a time in nature that's all this renewal is going on, restoration, coming out bigger and bolder. My perennial plants are definitely bigger every year, so why aren't we? That's what we're going to talk about. So, you don't really chase meaning. What if meaning is really just a natural result of growth, like I said? So in this episode, we'll explore why personal expansion mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually naturally leads to purpose and contribution. So we'll talk a little bit about stagnant seasons and how they feel empty and how growth really fuels our contribution, and why meaning is not something you find but something you grow into. And what is the difference between obligation-driven giving and overflow-driven contribution? This is big. So if you've been wondering how to feel more purposeful again, oh my gosh, you're in the right place. This episode will shift everything. And remember, like I said, this is a 6-part series. I'm keeping them really short because I want to give you a bolus, as we say in nursing, a bolus, a real shot in the arm for what you can do for yourself, no matter what your age and what your circumstances are. So, why do we feel empty sometimes when we're kind of stagnated? When growth slows, we often start to feel a little restless, irritated, disconnected, unfulfilled. But ladies, here's what I want you to hear. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you're human. That's all. And we are wired to evolve. Like I said in that first episode, our brains are wired to grow. They want to grow. Neuroplasticity says, keep on growing, and I'll keep this brain healthy. And we want a healthy brain, don't we? So if we're wired to evolve, your brain does crave novelty. It wants new things. Your body craves movement. It wants different ways to move so it can keep agile, it can keep healthy, and your spirit really does crave expansion. Same old in the spirit does not work. We have to always be expanding. When we stop growing, we stop generating new energy. That's how we start to feel a little stagnant, ladies. And without new energy, meaning begins to fade, doesn't it? Have you ever felt that? I'll just give you an example. I was talking to a client. She's a woman in her early 60s. I'll call her Linda for anonymity. And on paper, boy, did her life look beautiful. Fine, stable marriage, retired, beautiful home, plenty of money, healthy kids, on and on and on. But she kept saying, I feel invisible in my own life. And at one point, tears were in her eyes, and she said, I just feel irrelevant. And maybe some of us feel that because we've been mothers, wives, caregivers, and when there's nobody to care for anymore but ourselves, we realize, well, number one, a lot of times we realize, and she did, that she hadn't been caring for herself properly. But we also don't know what our identity is. Last week I talked a lot about identity. Nothing was wrong with Linda, but nothing was growing. So we started small. She took a painting class. She always wanted to paint. She, like me, I was kind of surprised at this because I have kind of started to take up painting, kind of. You can only do so much. But I've always, since I was a little girl, what was my favorite gift under that Christmas tree? Paint by number. Love, love, love it. So and honestly, if anybody knows me out there listening, they know I love makeup. And I'll have palettes. I have eyeshadow palettes. And that's like a little bit of painting for me, a little bit of a hobby. Anyway, Linda took a painting class. She joined a strength training group. She started journaling again. Now, my job as a coach is to offer, options that might resonate with a client, and they try them. Well, she did. She tried these because some of these actually sound like me because, I've been strength training like crazy for the last 3 years. What a difference in my life. Journaling, I've always been a journaler, and it can make a big difference. Journaling is the most, as you get older, can be the most fantastic way to process emotions. But Linda, within months of doing these new small, hobbies or tasks, came to me one day and said, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm waking up. I feel like I'm finding myself. And she didn't really find any grand purpose. But because growth restarted her energy, she started to feel like she was waking up. And how many of us sometimes think we have the most energy we could have for our age? When in fact, I'm going to tell you, you can get more energy. I believe you might think you have all that you can have for a 60 plus old lady. I guarantee you can have more. But this energy, this newfound energy, was the soil where meaning started to grow. And that's what I mean by when I tag in and I do my shameless plug for my Energy Reset Formula course. Everything relies on you in terms of how are you going to create more energy for yourself? How are you going to create more love for yourself? Because all of those things are foundational. So when you take it upon yourself to take a plunge, taking my Energy Reset course is an easy shot. It's low ticket. You can do it at your own pace, at your own time. I'll definitely have a follow-up coaching call with you because I'd like to hear that you just felt that shot in the arm and you're like, oh, yeah, no, I think I can move forward. So that's one small thing you could start with. And with that, once you have more energy, ladies, you start to say, yeah, I think I have the stamina. I can go try this. Or you start to be more creative. You start to come up with ideas. So think about this. Meaning is a byproduct of expansion. Here's what most people get wrong. They think they need to find their purpose, like it's hidden, like it's outside of them, like they missed a life assignment memo. But purpose often emerges naturally. That's what I want you to do. Understand that purpose and meaning often emerges naturally when we learn something new, strengthen ourselves. The primary thing I work with most women about is their level of self-love. And I find that majority of women don't have an adequate level of self-love that can be the foundation to move on up into all sorts of mind, body, spirit enhancements and improvements, but that's it. So this purpose and meaning emerges naturally when you love yourself enough, when you are willing to learn something new, when you're willing to heal old wounds, when you develop wisdom, when you challenge your limits. So growth creates capacity. Capacity creates confidence. Oh, and by the way, another plug. I have another short course on confidence because I see that in a lot of ladies. Most of the ladies that come to me, underneath it all, besides lacking self-love, they lack the energy and the confidence to get what they want to get, and there's so much to get. So Let me know if that's something of interest to you. But that capacity, that expansion that you can go through creates confidence. Confidence will create contribution. Contribution creates meaning. And so meaning, as you see, is the ripple of expansion. We always want to be evolving and expanding. So a client once told me, I just want to feel useful again. Last week I talked about the lady who just felt like invisible. This other client just said, I just want to feel useful again. And she thought meaning meant volunteering nonstop or doing something dramatic. But instead, we focused on her growth, like getting better sleep, walking daily, processing grief, and reconnecting with friends. And as her emotional and physical energy returned, she started mentoring young people in her profession. No pressure, no obligation, just a natural desire to share. And this came out of calm and peace and clarity. So let's not put pressure on ourselves. Don't feel you're obligated. Just develop this natural voice. Like I always talk about, find your inner voice. She will always take care of you and let you know what's good. So that's really how meaning happens. It's not forced, it's flowing. We want to be in the flow. So what do I mean about giving from a state of obligation versus a state of overflow? There's a powerful difference, ladies. Giving from depletion versus giving from growth. So obligation-driven giving sounds like, oh, I should help. Oh, they need me. No one else will do it. It kind of feels heavy, doesn't it? There can be resentment involved there, and it's draining. Where overflow-driven contribution sounds like, I really want to share this. I really have something to offer. This feels aligned, and that just feels energizing. It feels light. It feels purposeful. So that's what I want you to understand the difference between. You know, one woman I had that I coached, she was exhausted from caregiving. She was just overwhelmed, and she just loved her family. But she was running on fumes. Anybody else ever feel like that? So every act of giving started to feel like a sacrifice. So what we focused on is building up some boundaries for her, some rest. You know, those boundaries created an opportunity to give her some little bit of rest. I'm a big believer in strength training. I was like, we've got to get out there and strength train. So she did start that a little bit. And that can be done in the home, it can be in gym, but there's all sorts of options. We also started some spiritual practices. I've been hearing that a lot from ladies lately who are in a religion, but they don't feel they're developing, and they don't feel they have spiritual practice. So we developed that. We also found ways to get her some time alone to rebuild herself. So months later, she basically said, well, you know what? I'm still giving. I don't feel like I'm on fumes. You know, she feels like it's out of love, not obligation. So see what a little bit, that's overflow. When you start caring for yourself and creating something different, evolving, growing, you'd be amazed at how your mindset can shift. That's being in the flow. So when you grow, you gain perspective, you gain strength, and you gain emotional maturity. And naturally, you want to give in meaningful ways. That's not martyrdom, ladies. That's evolution. So I believe midlife is such a prime time for meaning. Midlife women are uniquely positioned for meaningful contributions. You know why? Because you've lived, you've learned, you have experienced loss and love. You've navigated careers, families, health, and identity shifts. You've survived things you once thought you couldn't, right? Think about that. Ladies, that's wisdom. And wisdom without growth can feel heavy. But wisdom with continued expansion, oh my gosh, becomes so powerful for you. So think of two women in midlife. One says, my best years are behind me. She stops trying new things. She stops dreaming. She stops expanding. Life shrinks. Another lady says, what else is possible? She explores new interests, builds strength, learns technology, deepens spirituality, invests in friendship. Her life expands. Same age, different growth path. Very different sense of meaning, right? Growth keeps you evolving. Wisdom directs your contribution. That is legacy in motion, ladies. You've got it. So in wrapping up, you don't need to chase meaning, ladies. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. You don't need a perfect purpose statement. You need to just keep growing. And that's in your own way that you hear from your own inner voice, because growth expands your capacity. Expanded capacity naturally becomes a contribution. Contribution becomes meaning. So if life feels flat, ladies, don't panic. Don't judge yourself. Ask, where am I ready to grow and what do I need? Sometimes we have to get prepared to grow. There's 5 stages of change I use in coaching. And you may say, I'm ready to grow, but I don't know what to do. Sometimes you need assistance on how to prepare for it, how to get ready for it, what actions you might take, how to prepare psychologically for it, what support do you need to move forward. I absolutely can help with all that. But then you say, what do I want? What do I desire in my life? Do I want a new skill, a stronger body, a healed heart, a deeper spiritual practice? Then you get really clear with yourself. That's where you start. Because you're not here just to exist, ladies. You are here to evolve. I call you all magnificent for a reason. Because you are expanding, and you are figuring out how to give from overflow after you give to yourself. And around here, ladies, what do we know? We don't let the old lady in. So if this resonated with you and there's anybody else that could help you, that this could help, please share this with them and get them tuned into these quick jumpstart podcasts that keep that old lady out. And until next time, don't let that old lady in. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Don't Let the Old Lady In. Remember, age is just a number. Your mindset, energy, and passion are what truly define you. If this episode spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Subscribe and leave a review so we can continue this journey together. You are strong, vibrant, and unstoppable. Until next time, keep living boldly, loving yourself fully, and most importantly, don't let the old lady in.